Good morning, retail traders. I'm Washboardjim with a Sneaky Snake trading strategy where I love talking about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And we're going to go over this coming week's my watch list for this coming week. And let's get right to her. So we've got the IWM. I really like where the IWM right now here on the weekly. We're at the 200 and we bounced up off of it last week. And we have three black crows right here. So this looks kind of interesting for maybe have a green week this coming week. We've had 3 weeks, actually a month of hard sell-off. And we went from 228 all the way down to 200. So this could be a good possibility that we come back and double bottom maybe. Or we just go ahead and have a pullback and just start bouncing up. And then we've got the QQQ here. Let's clear this up. And we're coming in on the 63 EMA. She does like to bounce off the 63. We've done it 3 different times. We've also had 3 black crows, 3 weeks of selling on the QQQ. So I think this could also be a possibility too. And then we have both the SPY and the SPX that are on the daily that are also bouncing off the 200 SMA, which is usually a pretty good positive position to maybe start to consolidate to the right. It's all going to depend on the news. We're in a news market right now where you sell the rips and buy the dips. And right now we're at that 200 on both the SPY and the SPQ. So if I go to the IWM and I pull this up on the 1 hour time frame, that's the daily. Daily, we have a hammer with an inverted hammer. So let's go to the 90-day 1 hour. We could have a 1, 2, 3. If we decide to pull back, it'd be another $4 or so pull back. And let's put that trend line in here. Somewhere right around 202.50 area with a solid support here at the inverse head and shoulders. And we'll take the same trend line and just move it up to this next candle right here. Right about in there. So we're squeezing to move up. And if it doesn't hold this number right here, then we're going to go ahead and fall down and hit that 202.50 area. Let's go ahead and do a price line where support is right now. Right around 204.81. So if we can hold that 204.81, we can come up and try to hit the 63 on the 1 hour. Right around 206.63. A little bit lower than that. Now let's go ahead and bring it back up to the top of the body of that candle right there. 206.45. That'll be resistance to break at the 63 on the 1 hour time frame. Now on the QQQ, we got the 63 here on the weekly for a low support. That's another $20 drop. So let's take this to the daily. And we've got the 200 SMA we got to break on the daily to become bullish. Right now it's bearish. So somewhere around, let's put a price line in here. Right around 292.61. That's going to be your resistance to break, and that'll be the 200 SMA. And if that can break, we can move this up higher to the next level, which would be right around 496. And support will be the triple bottom down here on the bodies of the candles, right around 487.09. If we can hold that 487.09, we could start to consolidate and go sideways. And then we got the SPY at the 200. So that's going to be your solid support for right now. And we'll put a price line right there on the 200. Right around 571.86. If that holds, then we're going to be consolidating to go to the upside. Right now we have kind of a fallen wedge on the daily here, and we'll put a trend line there to show you that wedge. It looks like we tried to break it Friday. So this is a pretty good setup right now. It's a pretty good setup. The SPY is to consolidate, go right, and then start to bounce back up. Now we need to hold that 200, like I said, on the daily at 571.86. So let's take this to the 1 hour time frame. Use the 90 day. And we got to break that 63 to continue to move on up to the upside. So the 63 is going to be your hard resistance. When I say hard, that means it's going to be hard to break. Right around 576.64. If we can break that, we'll start to move this thing up to the next level. And that next level will be right up here at the triple top. Right around 583 for this coming week. If not, she needs to hold that 571.86 to stay bullish, or we come down to a double bottom at 567, period. So pretty solid with them numbers right there, and we'll just leave it at that. Now, same thing with the SPX. It's my daily trader. This is where I make most of my money at. And right now we've got the 200 SMA. I really like trading the SPX. For one, it don't take as much capital to make more money than it does if you're trading a SPY. For example, you could buy one contract of the SPX and run it up $1,000, $2,000, and just have one contract for $300 or $400. But you got to be in a bull market. Or she can just, I usually buy 5 and then sell them at first pop that comes in, and I'm already got my $1,000 that way. So we got the daily, and that number, let's see if we can read it here, is 5,734. And if we can break resistance, that next resistance is going to be right around 57.80. And then to the 9 EMA up here at the top, right around 58.44. Now we've had some pretty good sell-off on this one here. And if you go back to the weekly, which we're going to do right here, we had 3 black crows. And I love trading these 3 black crows into a reversal upside. But with the conditions of the market right now, we might just go sideways, and we can scalp sideways all week long, up and down, up and down, up and down. Like I said before, buy the dip, sell the rip. But we've had 3 good weeks of sell-off, and I love the 3 black crows on a weekly time frame. Hopefully we can consolidate this week and keep this up above support. So that's that. And this is going to be my watch list for this coming week. And we're going to start with the TQQQ. It's definitely pro shares, ultra pull, bearish or bullish. I think the SQQ is the short and the TQQ is the bull. So we kind of had a hammer right here last week on Friday. Is the daily time frame. We'll go to the weekly and see what kind of setup we have here. We have 3 black crows, which again, to me, is a pattern that we could consolidate, go sideways, and find a support. Now the low support on this one right here for the TQQQ will be a double bottom right at 62.88, with support for right now right around 67.37. If we dip down below it, we can run it up or hit the 63 and try to break resistance on the weekly right around 68.87. Now if we take this to the daily time frame, I'm pretty well satisfied with that. Low support to stay bullish, right around 65.50. Double bottom at 62.88 with resistance to break right around 68.87 to start to move this thing up and go higher. And then we could probably hit 71.56. So this will be a good one to watch this coming week. Now remember, this one here is the Bull ETF Pro Shares. We got Walgreens on the list. Walgreens is kind of iffy, so we'll just go ahead and not worry about it right now. I might just take it off my watch list here this week. We got to break the 200 though, and that's right around 1079. The SQQ, now we've been in a bear market, and we run up and hit the 200 SMA on the daily, so that's resistance to break. And then support to hold will be this previous high right here, right around 32.93, with a low at right around under 30 bucks, right around 30. Now Tesla used to be my everyday trader. I had a swing on this all the way to the upside. Let's take this to the weekly time frame. Now you can use two different patterns here, two different time frames. We could even go back to the monthly and start to use the monthly time frame. And right now we're hovering at the 21. So if this doesn't hold this here 21, we could easily, not easily, but we could drop to around 211. That's on the monthly. Each one of these represent a month. I think Elon come out with that new truck of his, that Cybertruck. I really like how it looks. So resistance, to get back to bullish again, we got to break 280.48. And there's a gap right here. And the low support below that gap, which we hit last Friday, is right down here at the bottom between that gap. So we're going to trade within that gap. If we can hold this gap at 252.03, I think we can run this back up and hit the 200. If not, the next support down will be the next gap, which is right here at 244 and 228. So it's important that we hold the 252, and that's that bottom of that gap right there, and run it back up to the top of that gap right there, and that runs right into the 200. So that's a pretty good looking chart right now. This could be a play, a good play next week. Now, of course, you're going to get the bad news. You got the liberals out there blowing up Tesla, vandalizing Tesla dealerships and Tesla cars. I can't stand liberals these days. I really can't stand them. They're too violent. They don't believe in love and peace the way I used to believe when I was a liberal. So, I just say fuck them. I can't stand them. Period. Especially when they go messing with my Elon. Pivot point inside of that gap is right around 263.75. I forgot to mention this is tie Sunday. This is where I like to wear a tie and present myself presentable to y'all traders. We got Hewlett Packard here. Hewlett Packard, ooh, ouch, really got hurt on the earnings. I had this trend line on here for some reason, and we almost hit that support. So this could be in play this coming week. I really like that big old gap down on this trade here. We're going to have to keep a good eye on it. Let's look at the 4 hour. Now we hit the 4 hour. We hit the trend line on the 4 hour. So on the 1 hour, resistance to break will be the 1664, and support to hold will be the 1435. So we got to break 1664 in Hewlett Packard and hold 1435 to stay bullish. We got Intel back down at 20 again. This is my support level for it to stay bullish. Now, this only runs up on news. So if it gets some kind of news of a buyout or something, it can start to turn to the upside. Seems like there's more eyes on Intel these days than there has been. But that $20 level is definitely my pivot point. If we can't hold it, we'll drop on down and maybe come back down here to 1879. AVGO is another good one. Broadcom. It's got its goods and bads to it right now. Tech is not doing very well. I'm going to have a little drink of coffee here. On the 1 hour time frame, we got to break the 200 SMA. And to hold support is going to be this inverse head and shoulders down here. And that'll be a double bottom out of the breakout. So somewhere right around 185.52 to stay bullish. They could pull back and hit that and be a strong, 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 strong buy. 185.52. Resistance to breaks 197. And then we got the overhead resistance. Right here, we got a head and shoulders. Right around 203.58. But it has to break that 200. $202.85 is going to be your resistance this coming week, but we have to break the 200 at 197.30, or to stay bullish, it's got to hold the 63 at 192.57. You see that I use my moving averages a lot for supports and resistance levels. There's a huge reason behind that, because I always like to stop at them moving averages. We got the 63, 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 and we're at the 63 right here. Resistance to break, the 200 EMA, 200 EMA. So it comes up and tries to break the 200 SMA and EMA right in here to inverse head and shoulders, right straight to a chart pattern. That's how I trade. Amazon's had a huge sell-off. Now this looks interesting. I really like this setup just because it's pulled back so much, and Amazon's a good stock. Let's take this to the daily or to the weekly, and let's clean this up. Right now we stopped at the 63. That could be a solid support. We got a head and shoulders right here. So let's draw that trend line in here. And that's going to be your solid support come tomorrow. Right around 196. If we get a $3 dump on it, and resistance to break will be 200 all the way up to the 21. Actually, we'll stop her right here at 207.84 with a strong buy off the 63 at 190.36. If that holds, we stay bullish. If that 63 holds, we stay bullish. And especially if we hold that inverse head and shoulders at 196, we could run this thing back up. Apple's another good one to watch with a SPY. Now, Apple, they've been bullish on Apple. They've been bullish for a long time, and the thing dipped on them. And right now, you know, I'm not as bullish as the fat cats are on Apple. So what we're going to look at here is going to be the inverse head and shoulders actually that broke out. And we're going to put a price line, a trend line on this body of this candle right here. Now this is the weekly. For right now, if we can hold 232, this thing stays bullish. 230, 260. If not, she could easily dump down, and we've got, I mean, it's a strong pattern, strong chart. If she dips down, we got 225 for a strong buy. So I take 1, 2, 3, 4. You might make a little bit more. Right at 224.27. With a resistance to break this coming week at 245.47. That's using the bodies of the candle. CCL, we got BABA. China's been doing very well. This is my China watch list if you want to jot this down. It's pretty simple. I got BABA, PDD, called this out at 100, called this one out when it was at its low. We got KWeb, and we've got JD. So again, BABA, PDD, KWeb, and JD are my top 4 trades in China. And BABA, right now, it's had a huge breakout. So on something like this, I'd like to use the Fibonacci. Somewhere right around in between this gap in here would be support, and maybe pull back and hit that 120 area for a strong buy. And I mean strong buy. The momentum's here. It's been cheap for such a long period of time. It decided to become bullish under Trump. But it's been very, very, look at the time frame. This thing been oversold. We were at 319 on BABA, and for 5 consecutive years, and we consolidated during the Biden regime from 21 to 24. Then we had the breakout. So if it does decide to break out, you could be looking at 185 if it breaks this 145.51. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it pull back and bounce off that 60, what's actually 30 some percent pullback on that one there. That'll be a strong buy right around 120.50. I'd go long on that trade. If we pull back to that quad breakout, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd definitely run it back up. See how resistance, and then finally we broke out. So if it comes back and touches that old resistance line, and that'll keep the stock bullish, and that's a good $20 dip. So, you know, I'd keep a good eye on it. It's got to break 145.51. If not, she'll pull back to that 120.50 area and be a very strong buy. And Google, here's another one that's it's way overbought. It's way overbought. This stock is. I can see it come down another leg and maybe bounce off this here support level. Now this is the weekly time frame. Let's look at the 3-year. From $83 all the way up to $207. We are bouncing off the 63. So let's see if we can hold that 168.09. If not, if so, we could bounce it up to 178. Keep a good eye on my calls. Go back and look at them. Go back and watch the video and just double check some of these calls I made, because you'd be surprised how accurate they are. Just by simply looking at a chart, using the moving averages, and just eyeing where the trends are. Like right here, you got a previous high and a previous low. If this thing starts to pull back real hard, get some bad news, you could pull back here to a double bottom at 150. I'm just saying. it's a possibility. And I'm just looking at it, and I can tell by looking at a chart if it's going to be bullish or bearish, because I've looked at over 2 million of them in my lifetime. And I've retested myself over and 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 over. I go back and watch my own videos sometimes 2 or 3 times a week just to go back to reference, because I can't remember exactly what I said. Resistance to break on the daily is around 175.61. $175.72 with a double bottom support. Now this got to break the 200. Again, I'm using that 200, and we hit the 200, we hit the 200, we hit the 200. So we could come up and hit the 200 and consolidate, and if we break it, we move up higher. We do have a gap right in here, so you got to pay attention to that gap. And that runs right into the 21, that 178.44. And if that 21 breaks, we break the 200, we break the 21 EMA, we could run up and hit the 63 EMA for a solid resistance. And that'd be the top of that gap. That's Google. We've had a pretty good pullback. So I can say that we had a decent pullback on this stock, and we could go ahead and start to run up. You got a head and shoulders right here. So this could be a good solid support. And resistance to break, see right there? So if we can hold that support level, right around when we draw a price line in there. This could vary because it looks like it's got a lot of volatility. Right around 172.50, 172.44. If we can hold that, we'll stay bullish. That or she pulls back and hits that 170 area for a solid buy. 170.43. So we got to run up and hit and break each one of these moving averages, the 200 SMA on the daily. And then if we can break that, it's an easy $3 break. And then if we can break that, we could run this up another $5, $4, and run into that 63. I love trading gaps, but we got to break that gap. We got to break that gap, 175, 66, 77, to get this thing back up. So that gap becomes a hard resistance. And if we can break that, she'll run back up. I guarantee it. So that's going to be it for today. If you have any questions or you have a ticker that you want me to look at, make a comment down below in the comment section, and I'll give you just a fast hoorah on where I think if it's a good stock to trade or if it's bad, or where to wait or where to break. And that's it. So that's the sneaky snake trading strategy. Today's watch list that I do every once in a while for next coming week. Remember, we had the 3 black crows show up. We've had 4 weeks of selling, 3 solid weeks in some of them indices, which 3 black crows indicates that we could consolidate to the right and we could bounce within a channel and then start to break out to the upside once some of this news settles. You know, it's all about news. Pay attention to what Trump's got to say. Fat cats don't like him. We're dealing with progressive liberals on Wall Street. So 95% of them are progressive liberals, and only 5% of them tell the truth. So that's the sneaky snake trading strategy, where I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And have a great week. Again, follow me. I'm live on YouTube every single day until I get tired of it. I've been up there for 3 years. I should have a bigger following than I do, but I don't. Always hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't listened or watched any of my videos, because every video I do is an educational video. And we'll catch you later. Have a great day.